Alright, what's up y'all? So this is going to be the first video. This is going to be kind of an overall explanation of what we do, how we do it, and we're going to look into the track building template. Just kind of the big picture is we have an Ableton rig. It has two computers that's being triggered by one MIDI device that runs redundant. We build all of our tracks during the week, all of our session files, so that they all match. It's basically click and drag into a master file. So we're going to have a track building template and a master template, like a concert template or weekend file template, whatever you want to call it. The songs that you build in the track building template will eventually just drag and drop into the master template. If you build everything the same way, that's what makes it all really easy. So let's dive into the basics of what I'm doing here. So I'm in our track building template. As you can see, I have this group. You can tell it's a group by these three little dots right here, or lines. Inside my group is everything I need for my song. So I have a breakout of everything I'm going to need. I have this MIDI, which is our automation cues, reference click, cues, drums. Drums I only use for my checking, and I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about with that. It's kind of a check for myself. I don't use them live, of course. I have a drummer, but for when I'm building the track, it makes it easy. And then inside of each one of these, I'll reference what I call overbuild. What I mean by overbuild is I put a lot of blank channels in here already routed. What I mean by that is when you put a channel inside of a group, it's going to route the audio to the group. And then that group is going to default to master. So this is what it's going to look like when you create your group. What you want to do is make sure that group is on sends only. The big three sections I'm going to be using are IO, which is input, output, sends, and returns. You can see my returns are all the same color, kind of mirror what that group template looked like. This is where I'm routing everything to, and then this is where I can route out my interface. In the track building template, opposed to the master session template, I'm going to have everything routed to 1, 2. I know you might be looking at click cues. You can't send it all down the same channel. Well, for this template I can, because I want to hear it all just in my stereo headphone mix. I don't want to have to get some crazy routing on a monitor mix or something just to build tracks. So make it simple. What's nice about the master template is it has the same returns, but these are all routed differently. So this would be routed to click or cues, and then that way it would all go out the channels that you would want. So that's kind of how the return side is working. The returns are assigned a letter as well when you create returns. And that's what correlates here down. In my send, you can see how I'm sending everything. I'm only sending the group. I mean, that's the important part about creating groups and subgroups, is you can create as many channels as you want inside this group, and then only send one channel. It keeps it all really clean, easy to mix, submix, create a lot of different channels, have a high channel count, and it not be a big deal to be adding all that. That's why I use this template. So one thing important to understand is the basic thing that I'm doing is Command T is creating a new track, create 2 new tracks, and I hit Command G or right click group. It's going to group into a channel, and you're going to see it, that audio is going to this 55 group, or if I change the name to like test group, it's going to change, and it's going to default to master. Again, I don't want it going to master, I want it going to sends. I want to tell it where to go. And then from sends, I can tell it which return I want it to hit. That's kind of the basic of what I'm doing. One thing really important to understand is you can group a group. So I'll call this like big group. So that's what I'm doing inside of this. I am sending my group to master. It's kind of irrelevant because nothing's really going through there, but it doesn't really matter, but that's what's happening. That's kind of the basic of how I'm building this. I just wanted to give a quick overview of that. So you can see, how I got to where I got to. I'm going to put this file as a downloadable file. So you can download this file. And if you want to build your own that kind of customizes or work off this template file, please feel free to do that. I'll have it kind of pre-built. I've kind of built everything in here that I feel like I need. And I've done, at this point, hundreds of multi-tracks. So I feel like I have everything covered in this. So I'll put that in there. And basically, the big thing to grasp is, how we're going to warp. And those are things that we're going to talk about. Warping is kind of the biggest intimidation with Ableton, but it's also the easiest thing in the world if you know just a couple tricks. So today I've picked a song, Awake My Soul. One little trick is you want to subfolder everything. Make sure you're really organized. So have a multi-tracks folder with all your multi-tracks. So I have this do it again elevation file. I can't see all my information because this doesn't scroll out any further. So that's one little trick. Create a subfolder. You can see the whole title. It'll help you because you really want to name everything. What your file is. So first thing I do is I load my track building template, and then I want to save it as, and I want to save it in its own location. So if you have like a folder where you put all your Ableton files, it would be good to keep them all together. And I want to do Wake My Soul Sold F127, and I'll call this a demo. So that's kind of the first thing I do. It's really important to look at the BPM, because the second trick you want to do in Ableton is change your master BPM and save that. That's really important for warping. It's going to make warping so much easier. If you make the master side of Ableton work for you, everything else becomes super simple. I'll kind of show you what I mean when I build. I'm going to build this track really fast because I don't want this video to be too long. But one quick thing is, let's go to preferences. You can see the shortcut in the bottom left. And let's go to record warp launch. Auto warp long samples, I like to have it off. I like to be in control of that. You can try having it on, probably do just fine if you follow these steps. Leave mine complex mode. Auto warp short, don't worry about it. I'll leave mine on auto, we won't be doing that, and I fade the edges. So that's one big trick for you that you want to make sure that's all put together. So at this point, I'm ready to start building. If you're ever confused about something I'm referencing or talking about, there's this little arrow on the bottom left of Ableton that pops up this info window that when you scroll over things, it will tell you what you're doing. So I'm going to be working in arrangement view for the most part. If I go ahead and unfold my group, you can see I have a 4/4 and a 6/8 click in here. The reason for that is we use our own click sound that we've kind of come to like. So what I'll usually end up doing is going to my multi-tracks, and I'll start with the cues channel. They like to call it guide.
1,
I call
2.
it cues. I'm an 8, so I'm right. It's cues. It doesn't really matter. But what I'll do is drag in the cues channel and see how long my song is going to be. I'll double click and I'll warp. You can warp as you go, or you can warp all in one shot. And I'll show you how and why on both. I warp as I go for the most part. At this point, you can see how easy it was to warp because I was set to the same tempo as these tracks are, 127. It's warped. I can move this to any tempo, transpose it anywhere, and I'm good to go. I know it's a guide, we won't do that, but But also I have this click. You can see what I'm doing here. A lot of Command D here. It's a little bit clunky. I could make this longer for sure, but that's pretty much it. If you're a freak like me, Command J to consolidate. Sorry, I cut my audio because I'm routing everything through Ableton. So that's that. I mean, I've got my click, I've got my guide, I've got the start. So then I just start from over here on the right, how I have it all. I kind of have it in order I like. I'll show you why. I start with this drums live. And when I do, you know, I'll warp it. The reason I even listen to this is because it gives me confidence that I'm working on the grid. What I mean by the grid is all these little grid marks in here in Ableton, and then I'm working with my master tempo, and if this metronome is synced up with what you're doing, everything is right, everything's synced, everything is then warpable or transposable or, you know, easily moved without screwing the whole file up. Everything is when I have this open, everything is easily movable. And what I mean by that is now I can go and kind of pick a part in the song. I'm just hitting play up here. Right, you can hear the drums. And the drums are right on my click. And then if I turn on my metronome, I'm also right on the click. I've now just reassured myself that everything I'm starting, everything I'm doing, the basic beats of my track are there and right. It's a really good place to start. If you get that wrong, it's not going to be easy from there. So that's why I put drums. Of course, I'll mute them at the end. And then this gets back to the overbuilding. I only have one perk in this multi-track, but some perks have, or some multi-tracks have tons. So I'll delete the inputs that I'm not using. And then I put synth effects here. Why? Synth effects are usually like one hitty type things. So that's why I put it there. Find a place you want to put it and then keep it there on your template. The big thing is I'm going to leave my groups open. I'm going to show you why. There's some things at the end that you can recheck. And then I'll just go through and really quickly, I'm just dragging these in to their appropriate spot. It's really, you know, another thing is labeling your input side. Just make sure you do a good job. That's why I have like these pianos, and because when you're diving through, you know, tons of tracks all the time, you just want to make sure you can locate what you're looking for quickly. You can see I'm warping as I go. And then I'm going to go to EG, cool trick here, select all, command drag, warp. This is how easy warping is when you set your master to the tempo and you know you have it right. Okay, real quick, I'm going to not warp AG on purpose. So we're going to skip the warp here. And then I've got some strings. And I picked one with brass, which I got lucky. And I have a miscellaneous channel, so something like a harp would be a great enter into there. And then I'll go to BGV. I'm being interrupted by clown. And then I'll go and put these in. So choir and the O's. We don't usually use other BGVs like tenor, alto stuff. And then I have a Vox channel just in case. So I told you could warp everything at once. I left AGs unwarped. Here's what's going to happen. Select this bottom, hold shift, scroll all the way up and select your top track, you're going to see this little stripe through your warp telling you not everything's warped. All you have to do is hit warp. Now everything's warped. You could have just left everything unwarped and selected all of that and warped it. Either way you want to do it, I like to do it as I go. And that's pretty much it. I mean, we're done. And so I can now take this to any tempo.
Bridge 2.
And it's warped. I can now transpose it anywhere as well.
1, 2, and chorus. Chorus.
So that's done. So last thing I want to do is go ahead and title this Nice Soul. Man, I've done that twice. 127. I want to save this file, and then if I have my song library where I drag everything, you can see I have a couple of these from demos. I'm going to delete all these so it doesn't get so confusing here. I'm going to take this group, drag it in. There it is. So when I was talking about the two templates, this ALS file right here is what you'll be dragging into your master session. What I mean by that is, if I delete this really quick, just a quick demo, I drag this in, it's all here. That's how you can drag, multiple songs in. So like, whoops, sorry, don't want to open it, I just want to drag it. Now I've got God So Good. It's all here. And so if I have markers set up here for song 1, song 2, song 3, that's how I get there quickly. I'm going to end this video here, and then the next one will be about the master session.